Hello and welcome to Assembly Update. I'm Audrey Pitcher here today with Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz from the 81st Assembly District in the Bronx. Assemblyman, thank you for joining us today.
I am so happy to be here for a fresh new year.
Now, we are looking at the Governor's State of the State today. That'll be broadcast. And there are a lot of issues that people are speculating on what she will be talking about, and a lot of legislative priorities that are definitely going to be big focuses during this session. One of the ones she's definitely talked about is universal child care.
Yes, this is really a key issue for countless New Yorkers. I'm glad she's talking about it. There was certainly an important issue raised in the recent mayoral campaign, and I am very enthusiastic about the possibility of us getting this done. If we can, phase this in, because I don't think it's happening all in one fell swoop, I think that'll be transformational for not only countless families in New York, but also for business and for the economy. So getting this done, I think, needs to be a top priority, and I think there seems to be a growing consensus that we should make this happen. Of course, the devil is always in the details. Where is the money going to come from? But we seem to always find ways to get things done when we have to, and I'm really hoping that we can do it. So today is the State of the State, and then soon will be the governor's budget message, and then starts the whole budget process, and that's where we can hopefully accomplish this.
And that's what we'll be talking about from here through March, basically. One of the other important things that has been focused on is electric rates and electrical affordability, making sure people can afford to power their homes.
Oh, I mean, I get, and I think we all do, we get a lot of complaints about the skyrocketing Con Ed bills that people are getting, and it seems so out of whack, so disproportional. Why are the rates going up as rapidly as they are? And for several years now, I've pushed legislation which would create an office of the State Utility Consumer Advocate, an office whose sole job is to fight for utility consumers, for ratepayers, like all of us. We're all ratepayers unless we, use candlelight. And we've actually passed this several times now in both the Assembly and the Senate, and unfortunately, Governor Cuomo and then Governor Hochul, they have vetoed this legislation, including the bill we passed in 2025. And I must say, I think the governor made a mistake doing that, because I know she's committed to addressing the issue of high rates, and this is one way to do it, because this office, unlike the Public Service Commission, their sole job would be to fight for utility consumers. The Public Service Commission, that's not their job. They deal with everybody and everything, and they're the ones who set the rates. And when Con Ed asks for this much, and the Public Service Commission ends up with this much, it seems like a victory, but it's not, because the bills are just skyrocketing, and it's almost inexplicable how fast the bills have increased. So I wish the governor hadn't done that. I'm going to continue to fight for that legislation, maybe even accomplish it in the budget. But we need to do it. I think the governor really needs to re-examine the mistake that she made in vetoing this legislation, and hopefully we can get this done this year.
Now, some critics have blamed the increasing utility rates on things like green energy. How would you respond to that?
The people who complain about that are the same people who've opposed any pro-environmental, anti-climate change legislation that we've ever done. I mean, look what's happened on the national level. Trump is trying to reverse a lot of the progress that we've made. He wants to, drill more oil and rely less on renewable energy. And it's that same type of mindset, I think, and it's really counterproductive, because we know that in the long run, for sure, and probably in the short run, that taking these steps to protect and save our environment is not only going to be good on the face of it, but it's also going to cut costs, certainly over the long run. And we got to keep fighting for that. The naysayers who oppose all the environmental legislation, what could I say? They're never going to change. They're the ones, it's like, why do we subsidize oil companies? Because they have a lot of clout. and we gotta change that. And we've made a lot of progress in New York, but we got to keep making progress.
Now, one of the issues that Governor Hochul has been pretty vocal about recently is anti-Semitism and the rise of anti-Semitic attacks across the nation, but also especially in New York, which has a very high Jewish population. There's been some discussion about a bill that would ban protests essentially in front of houses of worship, sort of as a response to that.
Yes, and I would strongly support sensible legislation along those lines. I mean, I think most people know that New York has the largest Jewish population anywhere in the world outside of Israel, and anti-Semitic attacks and anti-Semitic hate, those comprise like a majority of all hate crimes. I mean, it's not even close. What happened recently outside a synagogue in Queens is that it's the same crowd. They're all wearing masks, of course, no different than ICE agents wearing masks, by the way. They're all wearing masks. They're waving Palestinian flags, which is their right, by the way. That's not breaking the law. But to engage in hate and anti-Semitism, in saying things like, we support Hamas, those are terrorists. And when you have people who are advocating for the terrorists. I mean, it's shocking. It's one thing saying that you're pro-Palestinian and you want them to you want to stand up for their rights. That's one thing. But saying that you support a terrorist organization crosses the line. So there is discussion on the state level about addressing it. Yeah, and if you want to demonstrate, don't do it in front of a synagogue in a heavily Jewish neighborhood and say you support the people who killed all these Jewish people on October 7th. It's disgusting. They are disgusting, and it's not. This legislation obviously doesn't just deal with synagogues. It deals with all houses of worship. There's actually a bill on the city level to do the same thing, sponsored by my councilman. His name is Eric Dinowitz. But it's important. It's important. There's a time and a place for everything. And engaging in anti-Semitism in front of a synagogue crosses the line. It's disgusting, and it should be against the law.
Now, we're looking at a lot of changes coming up in New York City. The new mayor, Mamdani, has proposed quite a bit of changes. One of those programs is a free bus program that he's looking to fund. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I've always felt that the buses should be free. We did it during the pandemic. It certainly seemed successful. We did it for other reasons. Making buses free will cost money, but it wouldn't cost nearly as much money as making the trains for free. But it would encourage more people to ride the buses. It would make the buses faster because you don't have people going into the bus fiddling around with their, card and everything and whatever. And besides, at least 40% of the people who get on the buses now are getting on for free because they're breaking the law. I'm not saying we should reward them, but they're not the ones being rewarded if we do this. It's the people who actually pay the fare who would be rewarded. And we also have a lot of people who have reduced fare. There's the Fair Fares program, which reduces fare for people below a certain income. We have the seniors who have reduced fare, students. So to me, it just makes sense for this to happen. And I know not everybody will agree with this, but I think it makes sense. But I've always thought it made sense, and I'm glad the now mayor has brought it up, because I think it can change a lot of things. If more people, how many more people would take the bus if it was free than who take it now, as opposed to driving in some cases? Hard to know, but it would certainly be some people. But it would make the buses more efficient. And then it wouldn't matter if somebody got on the back door. But I could tell you from my own observation, I've seen it right on 231st Street near my office. When the bus stops, when the number 10 bus stops, in either direction, there are people getting on the front, and there are lots of people getting on the back. And they're not just people who appear, if somebody's wearing a suit and a tie, there's a good chance they're not poor and that they can afford the bus. I mean, you can't know that for certain, obviously. But even some of the people getting on the front, they just walk right by. And what's the bus driver going to do? Get into a fight with everybody? Of course not. I think it's a practical program, but I do think finding the money for it, and it's going to be in the many hundreds of millions of dollars. As I said earlier, the devil is in the details.
Now, congestion pricing has been one of the governor's sort of professed triumphs. It has slowed down incoming traffic, reduced pollution, and reduced the amount of congestion happening in the city from people coming into Manhattan, and has increased the number of people essentially taking public transit. Do you think a program something like that would help the buses in some way?
Congestion pricing? Mm-hmm. I think we have plenty of congestion pricing right now. Allegedly, the program has been a success. I hope it is. It's raising revenue, which is the one thing about the program that I always liked. I don't like the fact that people have to pay the $9. I mean, many people could afford it. Some people less so. I personally avoid Manhattan whenever I can, but I've always done that. So it's not even the $9. I've probably paid the congestion fee fewer than a handful of times this past year. Twice I was going to a Rangers game, and I drove. I had had a carload. So I think it seems to be successful. Does it make moving through Manhattan better in terms of time and traffic? I mean, I'm more concerned about traffic in the Bronx, to tell you the truth. I'm not advocating for congestion pricing in the Bronx. I always did resent the fact that all the focus is Manhattan, 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 but it certainly congestion was a problem in Manhattan, no question about it. But let's be honest, it was always mostly about the revenue, and anybody who says otherwise, I don't think is being truthful. And the revenue is very important. The MTA does need revenue, and this goes to the MTA capital program. That's how we get new trains and new tracks and all kinds of other things that we need to have. So in that sense, it's very important. I know that allegedly the congestion fee is supposed to go up at some point from $9 to $12 and then to $15. I don't like that. I mean, that's really excessive. But I do like the fact that it's bringing in revenue for the MTA's capital program.
Absolutely. Well, it's been great talking to you as always, and we look forward to hearing how things play out with the Governor's State of the State and with the rest of the session.
Okay. Well, nice to see you for the new year, and I will see you next time.
Excellent.